Okay. So we'll call to order at 7:06. And then if you have the territorial recognition.
Yep, so we'll start by acknowledging that Brock University, the land that Brock University is situated on is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe people, many of whom continue to live and work here today. The territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendships of Indigenous people.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll approve the agenda for today. So be it resolved, the board approves the agenda for meeting number 4. I have a mover, Mohis, and seconder Thomas, all in favor? That would be everybody.
Sorry, can I just get a quick count on the number for everybody?
Yeah, can you raise your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I guess.
Nine. Okay, perfect.
And then approval of the minutes. So be it resolved that the board approves the minutes from meeting number 3. Mover Thomas, seconder Rajit, sorry, not Rajit, Ritik. All in favor? That's everybody.
All right, okay. Yeah.
We'll just go with that.
Pretty good.
Okay, and then we have a presentation.
Amazing. So if you wanna flip over the screen to the audit report. Right here? Yeah. Amazing. So, hey guys, I'm Ishar. I'm a manager at Grant Thornton. We are. Oh.
I think we can't screen the show.
Haley, can you enable Ken to share the screen, or at least me to share the screen?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sorry, like your laptop to share, Robert?
Yeah. Mine, please, yes.
Yes, just give me 1 second. Okay, you should be able to now.
This one, right? Yep. Yep. Amazing. So, hello again. I'm Ishar. I'm a manager at Grant Thornton. We audit your financial statements, and I do also believe a separate team provides consulting services around other matters that I'm unaware of to be independent. The purpose of this report is to communicate the results of the audit and in terms of our findings, internal control findings, any adjustments to the financial statements that we recommended, and so on and so forth. So the report's going to be unqualified. What that means is the report's a clean report. There's no significant findings in terms of misstatements or fraud or anything funky there. The status of the audit remains as such that we need a signed representation letter, which I will take today, so I've brought a printed copy with me. We need to do our subsequent events procedures. What that means is the audits as of April 30th, but we're issuing now. So if there's anything that happened between April 30th and now, we would, if it's significant, we would have to report it within the financial statements. And that's what the standards require. We would also need a receipt from all legal counsels, suggesting that there are no claims of the right entity, meaning if Brock was being sued, the standards require that we estimate a dollar amount and disclose in the statements. And we confirm that there's no such claims outstanding, and hence there's nothing disclosed in the financial statements. Our approach has already been communicated to you. It's an Appendix A, so you guys can review that afterwards. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. A reminder that the audit is done based on the concept of materiality. What that means is materiality is user-based. So, and it has industry standards. In this case, for a not-for-profit like BUSU, it'd be either based on total revenue or total expenses, 1 or 2%. So that means an audit's not foolproof. We would look at everything over a certain threshold. If we started chasing every $100, then the audit would never end. We would have to reperform the audit for the whole year. So because we do it in a short time frame, we have to stick to the concept of materiality. Significant risks remain unchanged from last year because your operations have not changed. There's presumed risk of fraud and revenue recognition. What that means is management has a bias to overstate or understate revenue to meet their budgets, and that's standard across all not-for-profit entities. Because it's not privately owned, there's no personal vested interest in the entity. As such, there's always a bias to conform to budget. We do a few procedures around that, and those procedures have been listed over and have not changed from prior year. There were no findings in terms of fraud and revenue. Again, management override of segregation. There's another risk of management override of controls and segregation of duties. That again has to do with the fact that because it's not a privately owned business, it's a not-for-profit. Management would have biases to overstate, understate financial performance. There's a risk of misappropriation of assets, and we look around your controls to make sure someone's reviewing every single entry that's been reported. Any transactions that have been posted for purchases has also been approved. 2 signers are there for every check that's been sent out. All those controls are present and effective, and hence we believe that risk to be low. Now, there's also a reminder in there that a financial statement audit is an audit for the financial statements and not to catch fraud. When a fraud's done on purpose, it's really hard to catch it, because for obvious reasons, we could get wrong support, we can be provided wrong information, but again, none of the indicators that were noted while we did the audit that suggests otherwise. So from that perspective, we're not concerned. Here's a focus on, of course, revenue recognition, because that's the lifeline of the company. Your revenue sources have not changed from prior year. Year-over-year revenues have remained consistent. There's been a slight increase in revenue based on inflation and the tuition rates and what you've been dispersed by the Brock University. One additional procedure that we did perform this year that we haven't performed in prior years is that we obtained a confirmation of revenues directly received by union from the university. So which again provides additional comfort that what's in the statements is what's been provided by the university. So investment income, you had a really big jump in investments, and that mostly has to do with the market doing well. That was consistent across all our clients. We saw a really big jump in certain investments, instruments, and hence an increase in fair value. Completeness of payables, there's also a risk of manipulation of payables where an expense which relates to prior period or future period gets reported in the current year. In most cases, it's a risk that the expense has been incurred in the future that relates to a future period gets booked now to conform to budget. And the way we address that is we do a sample selection of transactions after the year end and make sure they relate to the current period, and if they do, they're booked as a payable and an expense in your income statement and your balance sheet. In terms of employee compensation, we again do a sample test there. We select a sample of employees from your payroll register. We tie your payroll register to the financial statements as in the general ledger, and we make sure that the employees are real, the employees are not fictitious, the employees have been paid what was agreed upon, and any payroll accruals at the year end have been expensed and recorded in the balance sheet as a payable. There are adjustments in Appendix B. Most of them are PBC adjustment that TAN prepared. We have no unrecorded misstatements, meaning there were no adjustments or no errors that we noted that were above the materiality. So there's materiality, there's performance materiality, and there's trivial. There was nothing over trivial that we did not see that had to be reported. So clean there as well. There are no disclosure matters that were missed by management. Everything that requires disclosure for ASNPO, which is the not-for-profit accounting standard, has been done in the financial statements. Moving on to internal controls. So if you want to scroll up a little bit. A bit more. There we go. Internal controls. We had some small findings that are consistent with an entity of this size. Now, internal controls are the best kind of internal controls you guys are able to see would be larger companies with 30 to 40 accounting staffs where one person's receiving a check, the other person's depositing it. Two people are counting cash. One person's depositing it, the other person's looking at them depositing the cash. Like all that happens in big organizations. So there's always an understanding that in smaller organizations, there's always going to be some level of segregation of duties issues, meaning not everything will be perfect. So we acknowledge that first, and we make some recommendations. We recommended this year, because Tan joined this year, we recommended that any entry that Tan books gets reviewed by either the treasurer or someone higher up above them. And it's my understanding that that will be implemented in the future. We also noted that the company doesn't have a formal risk register. It's best practice to have one. It's essentially an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document that has a list of all the risks that the company is being exposed to. And then ways how they could be mitigated. And if there's steps that need to be taken, and if there's a plan that needs to be made, that's a long-term or a short-term plan, that could be put into place to address those. Let's say senior management changes, one of your guys wins a lottery and decides to quit their job next day. It's the best practice of risk register. The next person who comes in can be well aware of what the organization is exposed to and can address that from that perspective. And then we also noted that there's a super user in the accounting system. So you have a new accounting system implemented this year. And as part of that, we look at who has access, who should have access, who shouldn't have access. Usually in entities, regardless of their size, the person who has bookkeeping access, person who has approval of journal entry access should also not have access to creating or deleting users in the accounting system. In this case, we saw that Tan, because he was helping implement the system, he had that level of access. So it's recommended that someone other than a director of finance manages that. Or if that's not possible, someone monitors that access every month or so. Is to make sure there's no fake person gets created into the accounting system and no wrongful entries, even $50 entries are being booked, because they will never be caught and they can compound and cause a material misstatement. And that's the end of my report. There are some technical updates in terms of the accounting standards that could impact you in the future and the appendices. None of them concern you as of this year or next year. Some of them have been deferred indefinitely. And since we prepare your statements, we'll make sure to discuss them when they do come into effect. I do have this management representation letter dated for today. That I'm happy to have it signed by either Robert or Tan or both of you. Both would be nice.
So the requirement for our organization is for a Anusha and I to sign, and that's Anusha there. And so
Okay.
we have a student president and the general manager as our practice and it's in our bylaws.
Sure, I'm fine with that, but it's a management representation letter, not a board representation letter.
Yeah.
So it would be,
We're both managed.
okay, good.
And the other piece I want to sort of make aware right now is that the actual auditor works for you as a board. And so if you have questions of the auditor, they're your questions to ask. So ultimately,
Yeah.
the auditor works for you as the board. So certainly noted some things, if you have questions, the auditor is here to answer those questions.
Absolutely. Your questions would also be answered. Yeah, and then I can also go over the financial statements real quick.
That'd be great. And
Yeah.
if you want to actually provide the letter and the black pen, I can
Sure.
only be signing tonight, so I don't have
I
my
got-
black pen.
I would like it on me,
Perfect.
but the issue is that I have Tan and you on the representation letter, so I might have to reprint that.
Okay, that's fine.
That's fine.
And is it okay to get it back digitally or?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
that's fine. We'll sign that tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Okay. For the purposes of spelling, Anusha, if you could provide all spelling, just I know how to do it, but I'll let you do that.
KNUSHA?
Yeah.
I got it.
Got it.
And then last name,
Last name, Phahuja.
Sahuja?
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, so you have the copy of the draft statements there, I could,
The board was duly circulated.
Great.
draft statements.
sounds good. So the first page, the auditor's report, the opinion is unqualified. Basis of the opinion is based on Canadian generally accepted audited standards. Any accounting majors will be learning a lot about that. It is reminded on the auditor's report that the financial statements are the responsibility of the management and those charged with government. And it also highlights our responsibility in terms of what our due diligence is. It's a clean report. Your overall assets are, and your balance sheet is in a healthy state. You'll see a slight decrease in cash, and that has, my understanding is that that relates to Niagara Regional Transit's payments. Last year, they were being paid a bit late, and this year, you paid a bit earlier before the year end, and hence you see that drop in cash and a decrease in payables as well. Your investments see a jump there because of the fair market value increase. Receivables remain consistent year over year. Inventory levels are consistent year over year. Prepaids are consistent year over year. PP&E, you see that increase there, and majority of that has to do with the 100K in construction costs for the building. Sounds about right?
There's a few things we added, yeah, but
There was a write-off during the year for old assets that BUSU no longer has access to. Fund balances, the movement within fund balances is solely related to net income, so anything that any profits that the company makes goes to the fund balances. If you look at the difference year over year between fund balances, that's net income. Increase in tuition fees relates to inflation, slight. Like, we also looked at property versus enrollment numbers, and there weren't many swings there, so it just relates to inflation. Product sales reduced slightly. I think that has to do with closing of a food outlet during the year. I think that was
No, in general, it is just reduction in sales.
just a reduction in
Yeah.
sales, okay? It's too small, just bringing it up just in case one of the students have any questions about that. Salary wages slight increase, time was hired and general inflation year increase for the rest of the staff members. Cash flow is just a inverse picture of your balance sheet. So anything that doesn't have a cash impact is identified separately, and everything else has a cash impact. And that flows through your cash flow statement.
Yeah.
No changes to your accounting policies during the year. Note 3 talks about your mix of marketable securities. You'll see that to confirm with standards this year, we have added the cost value of your securities as well. So not just fair market value, also cost, just so you guys know, this is how much you paid for the investments. I'll give you a breakdown of your PP&E. Trivial departure from accounting standards in regards to computer software booked into PP&E. Should have been intangibles. We will adjust that moving forward. No changes to your credit facility. Note 7 has a slight change in there where the organization is no longer administering the funds for BETA. So there's no funds held in trust anymore. Internally restricted fund balances remain consistent year over year. Any increase relates to revenue allocated to those specific funds. Net income allocated to those specific funds. Note 9 also relates to fund balances. What it does there, it also shows you how much of your accumulated net income over the years is invested in capital assets. You have a commitment of $5 million with Niagara Transit Commission based on your balance sheet and your income statement. There's no concerns in terms of if you'll be able to beat that. I think you're good. Investment income then gets further broken down in note 11. And then note 12 is consistent year over year, suggesting that you have economic independence with Brock University. Brock University ceased to exist, so will this. And that's it. There's some financial instruments and risks that we address: credit risk, liquidity risk, market risk, and currency risk. All of those have not changed from prior year. And these are the risks that you're exposed to that the standards require us to disclose. Again, in terms of the risk register, that would be more detailed. The risk register would include employment-related risk, government-related risk, legislation in our environment, sustainability, and governance. All that stuff also goes in the risk register. And it's advised that once you create a risk register, have your legal counsel review that, just so that you're not missing anything major. Okay, so now I'm open to questions.
Thank you. Is there any questions?
So thank you for the presentation.
My pleasure,
It's very detailed, definitely having the accounting background, this background at all. I wanted to ask a question in general for the board, which is that, are there any areas of risk that you think the board should monitor closely? Although there isn't anything that's materially affecting the audit, but isn't any area you think we should be monitoring?
yeah. So. I think it's important for the board to be engaged in open dialogue with management, assist management in any way possible. If management believes they're shorthanded or they are short-staffed or they don't have enough resources to monitor certain areas of the financial statements or even business or operations, perhaps volunteer and help in any way required. Segregation of duties would be a big area, so if management requires the treasurer to sign off on manual journal entries that are posted by 10 or Robert, perhaps have one of your representatives do a spot check on those entries. Ask for a rationale, ask for support, and then sign off on it. And I think a board could have a committee do that. The board could have the treasurer by itself do it, or the treasurer could team up with a couple of people and do it. I would say like once a week. I think that would really strengthen your internal controls.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Under investment income, what did Broad do differently than the $1.2 million increase?
Can you please speak up?
Under investment income,
Yeah.
what did Broad do differently that basically led to a $1.2 million increase under gains?
So you see majority of your gains are unrealized gains. What that means is that there's an increase, you report, so first of all, you don't report your investments on cost, you report them on fair value. Meaning all your investments are representative of what their value is in the market at that given point in time. In this case, it's April 30th. So Brock made the right decisions to invest in the right instruments, which resulted in an increase in investment value. Now, unrealized means those investments have not yet been sold. There has been no change in cash, and those investments are still held by Brock. So the majority increase, mostly 638K, or actually 800K of it pertains to an increase in fair market value of market investments. And that's out of your control, like in general, like let's say you buy a stock of Apple and then overnight it goes 2-3 times over its original value. You'll report that as an income if you're a business, and you're reporting at fair market value.
Is there any other questions? No. Okay, yeah,
Maybe some thank yous and.
I think there's, yeah, there's a question.
Sorry,
Yeah.
would it be like possible for you guys to circulate this part of the document to the board members, or would this be under like confidentiality? I just think it's important that we should be able to read like
The report?
appendix. you know, this report as well, if that's possible.
Looking at the auditor, so.
So it's okay, but it is only intended for the use of board and management. So if it goes outside this room, that then might be an issue. But if it stays with you guys, I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Kaylee, just a note, we'll send you that document we just received ourselves today. We will send it to you, and Kaylee, you can distribute to the board.
Yep, sounds good. I think Tan forwarded it to me before the meeting, so I can, I'll just put it on the portal so that everyone can log in to see it.
Thank you.
If you see any typos, let me know.
I have one set of thanks. I want to thank Carly. So Carly served as our VP UA last year. And certainly had responsibilities from a management side, from a student perspective, of seeing finances here. Kaylee or Carly would sign, 98% of everything that's coming out of the organization. So I want to say thanks to Carly for that. And then Tan, I'll turn it over to you to give some thanks to the Grant Thornton team.
No, definitely, thanks to Sharon team, Joe, Linda's missing here,
Yeah.
but, but yeah, thanks a lot for supporting us, and obviously it's a process, it takes a little bit of time to get over all this work, and they have been very good with us in terms of communications, and we've been back and forth about what we have done, and I think they've done a really good job.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Same goes for Tan. I think he's doing a great job in being his first year, and he seemed to do every single answer, and I didn't expect that from him. And it was my first year in this audit too, so it was kind of, oh, great, but it turned out great, honestly. Yeah, there's lots of hard work goes into this audit. We have a really strong NPO practice, and I have most of my summer I work with NPO clients, and I'm very passionate about it. So you'll see I picked up a few more recommendations this year, more than last year, and then we'll keep on working on improving and being more diligent with our approach going forward.
So in terms of next steps, I'll state one thing. So we'll receive from you some documents for management to sign. When we receive them, promise you'll turn them over
Absolutely.
in 24 hours and we'll return.
So sorry.
Yeah.
Next step is we need to sign the management representation letter that essentially states that management takes ownership of the statements, that the board approves of the statements. There are also subsequent event procedures. So I would need a subsequent general ledger or trial balance as recent as possible. And I would need for you to follow up with the two law firms. I can send you an email in regards to that as soon as I leave here. I can flip it over to you.
Can you explain that to the board? Just because you did allude to the fact that you need legal record statements.
Yeah.
Maybe explain more.
Sure, yeah. So the accounting standards of not-for-profit organization requires that if management thinks that a contingent liability is measurable and likely to be disclosed in the financial statement so that the user are aware that there's a claim on the organization. Easiest way to confirm a legal claim is to ask the lawyers. Now, there's a memorandum of understanding between the Law Association and CPA Canada, where the lawyers are required to be truthful and transparent and inform the auditors upon request if there's any claims outstanding or not, and if there's any claims outstanding, what would be the financial impact of that. So management says there's no claims, and then we'd send a letter to the lawyers, every single lawyer that the management employees, to confirm the same. And that letter needs to be received 5 business days before the financial statement issue date. We've sent the letters out. We're just waiting for the lawyers to get back to us. Once we get back from the lawyers, we get the green signal, we'll issue the statements. The issue is, I would love to issue statements today, but if the lawyers came back tomorrow and said, oh, there's a employee from 10 years ago that has a claim, and it turns out to be $200,000, and that turns out to be material to the financial statements, then we're in a hard spot and we can't really sign on that. So from that perspective, that's the only major outstanding item from my end, and then everything else is procedural.
And so on that front, management has indeed said there are no claims, and
Yes.
the auditor's responsibility is to actually audit that, to confirm that that is the case.
And we would also look at all your legal invoices during the year. Every legal invoice has a list of services rendered by matter. So we look at every single one of the invoices just to make sure that there's nothing that's suspected of being claimed that manager is not disclosing. And that legal, the total agrees to your general ledger now. There's no chance that any invoice is missed because we know that $100,000 legal invoices agrees to general ledger and we've audited everything else, so. We essentially know that that's the extent of it.
Anything else, Robert? Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Any other questions or no? Okay, perfect.
So what do you think? I'm free to go?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our last, when the audited financial statements are issued, we will bring them to the board for one last, and we will then motion for approval of those statements. We will not require Grant Thornton to return next time, they've already presented them. There should be little to no change in what you've seen in draft statements to what you will see there. And then really from an auditor perspective, if you as a board wish to speak to the auditor, you can do so.
Okay, my email's on the audit report, my direct line's on there too. Just don't call me at midnight, but you feel free to pick up the call and dial me, all good.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you. Thank you so much.
cheers. Appreciate the applause.
Your organization, yeah. Thanks, Dan.
Enjoy.
I know, right? Yeah.
Ghost notes
And
for your
if you ever have any
favorite.
questions about
Gabrielle,
finances, right, you can definitely shoot
Would you
me a
be able
message
to
as
make
well
me
and
host
I'll
again?
happy answer.
What do you want me to do?
Would you be able to make me host again so I can share my screen?
Thank you, Ken. The next one.
All right.
Thank you.
She figured it out.
Did I forget that?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Like,
oh.
It's okay. I'm gonna slide it.
Yeah, and then I was like, I probably like, but then I was like, I'll just. I think I would be, but yeah.
Gonna be it.
Yes, what I did
Wait.
get,
We were,
Oh, yeah,
when he was saying like Brock, he was talking about us, but there was a couple times where he said Brock instead of.
yeah, yeah.
But he's talking about us.
Okay.
I was talking about.
That's it, that's why I was like commenting.
Yeah.
like, what
No.
did you say?
He's talking about.
Okay, okay.
All right, so, be it resolved, board approves the 2023-24 audit as presented. Mover, yes, Thomas, Rittick, all in favor? 6,
Oh.
7, is that not a hand up?
Staining, should
Okay,
we be
seven.
motion, okay.
Okay, so that's 7 in
Sorry,
favor,
Can we not?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
we can pass it now and then we can distribute it before we publish it. We can do that. It's an option. And really what we would do is we'd say, listen, there is no changes from what was presented. So you can motion now, you can motion later. It's up to you.
If there's any changes, like, because the lawyers need to see it first, and if they have any changes, what do we?
Then we would bring them back. for
I thought we
sure.
were just motioning to approve
That's
presentation.
how.
Yeah, we can, if
Oh,
we're,
just-
if we're presenting the
That's what I thought.
presentation, that's okay with me.
I thought
Yeah.
it's also, we were just approving the, sorry to interrupt, but I thought we were just approving the draft, and then if there were to be future changes, I assume you guys would let us.
Yeah, and we can approve the final ones if you so like.
Okay.
I'm
Right,
gonna
at
turn
the
it to the
next
chair,
meeting.
right?
Yeah, so this is just for the presentation as presented, and then we'll receive the final report after. So does that change? Okay, so what we have all in favor then, Kaylee? For just the presentation, okay. All right, so we're gonna move in
Yeah.
camera. We will move motion for in camera. Yes, Mohi's, all in favor? That would be everybody. So we are in camera at 7:41 PM. Who's presenting?
Kaylee, have you killed the?
All right, we'll start then with the general manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So with respect to new student space, we had our third meeting with the architect today. It was a tremendous meeting and we're really making good progress on that. So that's actually a little bit further information is included in the report. Item 2 is around transit. So in our first 2 weeks, we distributed 8,000 transit stickers. and that continues. So a little update there. With respect to health and dental plan, the opt-out deadline is September the 30th. So I just note that for the board. And then my final two items, I said I'd get through it quickly. The first one I'm going to turn over to Kaylee. Kaylee, are you still there? Item 14.
Yes, I'm here.
So perhaps you can share your news.
Yes, I'm pregnant. Surprise. Yeah, I'm pregnant. We just found out we're expecting a boy, which is new for us because we have two girls at home. My husband's very excited. I'm a little terrified. I am due at the end of January, so I'll likely come back from the December break for a couple weeks, and I'm working with Kate and Robert to kind of figure out what my maternity leave replacement would look like. Sad to be leaving all of you for the next semester, but is what it is.
So again, Kaylee, congratulations and thank you for sharing your news with the board. And my final item, I'll just get through it quickly, is that last night I finished 25% of my final course toward my master's in education. I will complete my final course in December of this year, and I will be writing and defending my thesis next term. So that concludes my report. Every other item was circulated. I'm happy to take questions on what I verbally reported or what's in my written report.
Any questions from any of the items on Robert's report?
Off that.
That was the fastest thing you've ever done,
Yes.
ever.
Okay, I'm gonna get to this as quickly as possible, maybe top Robin. Okay, first things first, Senate meetings have started. Carly and Mark, who are also senators, they have started their Senate meetings. Carly, Mark, and Kaylee, they had Senate orientation for all the student senators to kind of make them feel a little more comfortable before they actually go into their first meeting. That went well. To show you, the Brock University strat plan also got approved at Senate. It is going to be heading to the board on Thursday, and once that's approved, I will let you guys know. The thing is, next is the Board of Trustees meeting for Brock. I've had my board orientation last week, and board meeting starts this week. So I had my first capital infrastructure meeting tomorrow, as well as I'll have my first board meeting. So I'm looking forward to that. The next one is a parking update. I'm pretty sure you must have already heard about it, but since I had put this in my report last meeting, Carly did a great job of advocating to Jennifer Borowski, who is our interim vice president of administration. We did escalate it a little bit since school was opening in like a week. We successfully advocated for making parking lot 2 free for this fall term, and we're going to be having discussions for the winter semester and going to see how that's going to work. And we're hoping that they would agree to get that for free as well after 6 p.m. The next one is an achievement for us as well as for the board. As you might be aware that we do invest in OERs. We have Carly, who has been working on the OER front, which is Open Education Resources, with Rajiv Chandiani, who is the Vice Provost Teaching and Learning at Brock. And he was very kind enough to nominate BUSU and Carly under the student categories for a Global OER Award. And Carly has won the award. So we're really proud of her and all the efforts that she has put into the program. And we continue to do that, put those efforts in. And yeah, that is about the award. Next up, BUSA, as you all have been made aware that BUSA General Assembly is happening at Brock this year. It's going to be happening from October 24th to October 27th. Planning is underway, hoping to have everything confirmed by this week. Everything's going on track, so I will have something for folks for our next meeting, hopefully. And by then, BUSA will probably be done, actually. So I will tell you how successful it is. And then the last one is 18, actually second last one. We had our first meeting with the 18 on 10th of September at Isaac's Patio, a great turnout. We have been assigned our committees, which has been great. We've all sent out our initial meeting invites to them to kind of start our process on having our individual meetings with the executives. And then the club's advisory committee, which was previously known as the club's policy committee, has now started their meetings for club funding. So that's already happened. We've had a couple of clubs who've already come for our meetings. Lastly, I think last event, convocation is happening, in October, which will be attended by Mark and Shania for the 2 ceremonies. I'm gonna be stepping down, since it's their time to shine a little bit. And then personal item is that this is my last semester, and I am taking only 2 courses, which is exciting. One's online, one's in person, so I'm working on that, and once I'll be done, I'll be graduating in June of 2025.
That was pretty darn fast.
I think they're very well, so, yeah.
Proud of you both.
Is there any questions for the president? Okay, I would like to request, like, could we get reports from all the executives, even if they're not here to present it, if they submit it and we get an affordable? So that way it's not just you always reporting on their behalf, but you just send us a quick update.
I can definitely, yes, for sure. For next meetings, I can probably ask them to put
Okay.
something together.
Perfect, okay. Mover to adjourn meeting, Thomas, all in favor?
Second.
We need a seconder for adjournment?
No, only one.
Okay, so all in favor?
knew.
Perfect, that's everybody adjourned at 9:08.